Hey everybody, we made it to season 23, which has no theme, so it's kind of a free-for-all. So hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, do whatever you want. Just be safe.
Hill County 911, what's your emergency?
I just killed my children.
Excuse me?
I just killed my children.
Where are you?
I'm in the abandoned house on Highway 77 right after you go underneath the highway. One of them's still alive. Hurry.
How? Under what highway? You're on Highway 77 where?
I'm on Highway 77 right after you go under 35 going towards Milford. Get an ambulance out here to save the one that didn't die. Come on. Hurry up.
What's your name?
Bitch, call them. Have you already called them?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Okay.
I need your name.
I don't want to tell you my name.
I've explained this before, but let's have a little lesson about how the emergency services system works. I know, I'm ignoring the most important part of the audio clip, but I promise we'll get there. Now, this is going to be accurate for the United States, but I imagine it's similar in many other countries. From what I've seen in the UK and Australia, it's like this, and I did some research into the emergency services in the Netherlands where I live, and I believe it's similar. So you dial 911, or 112, or 000, or 999, every country's different, and the operator answers. Depending on where you live, you might get someone who first asks what kind of emergency it is, fire, medical, criminal, all of the above, so they can get you to the correct service. Once you have an operator for your emergency, they're taking information from you while relaying that information to a dispatcher. The operator's job is to pay attention to you and gather information. They don't need to stop and dispatch anybody. That's happening while they're talking to you. So in the US, if you call 911 and tell the operator that someone broke into your home and you're hiding in the closet, the operator will type that into their computer and the dispatcher will see it and send a police officer right away. The operator will continue to talk to you and gather as much information as possible because the more information the officer has, the better they can know how to protect you. If you say, "My house is on fire," the dispatcher will see that and immediately send fire trucks. The operator will continue gathering information, and it might seem like they aren't sending anybody, but that is happening in the background. And there are smaller areas that don't have a separate dispatcher, but the operator can send a message to the police, ambulance, or fire department from their computer without pausing their questions. I've seen them work, and they're highly efficient at multitasking. And I'm only talking about normally functioning emergency services operators. There are operators who suck at their jobs, of course, and those are the ones we usually hear about, but for the most part, they know what they're doing. So you don't need to continually ask them if they're sending someone out, especially if you say something like, "My house is on fire," "My dad's having a heart attack," or "I just killed my children." Those were the first words out of Debra Jeter's mouth when she called Hillsborough 911 on June 5th, 2009. Hillsborough is located in Texas about 70 miles or 112 kilometers south of Dallas and about 40 miles or 65 kilometers north of Waco. Not only did she calmly state that she had killed her children, she also called the operator a bitch as she demanded they send out an ambulance since one of her daughters was still alive. That's when the operator informed her that police and ambulances had already been dispatched, because that's the way it works.
I'm in the house walking around, and one of them's still alive for real. She's asking to be saved, and I couldn't handle that. And so now
She's in an abandoned house at
it's
that
been a
location.
long time. She might already die because she's bled out a lot. And hold on, what, baby?
77 minutes,
Be still. What did you say? I want to call 911. She said, "Please send to her."
Okay, well, we've got people en route.
She told the dispatcher that one of the girls was dead, like dead, but the other was still alive. Then you could hear Debra talking to the daughter who was still alive in the background. So now, that poor girl who watched her mother slit her sister's throat and then slit her throat is waiting in horror as the person who had just tried to kill her was responsible for getting someone there to save her life. It's an unimaginable level of terror for a 13-year-old. Fortunately, an ambulance would arrive and she would live through the ordeal, but then she would have to live with that horror for the rest of her life. This is Monsters. Before we begin, I just want to make sure you know that my other show, Sinister, is back up and there are 3 episodes a week. They're dark stories from history, and if you like this show, you'll probably like that one. Give it a shot. There are links in the description. Thanks. Lester Lee Jeter, who went by Lee, and Debra Jeter's marriage was on the rocks. The couple had gotten together young, and Debra was only 19 when she got pregnant with their first child. They ended up having 2 daughters together, 13-year-old Kirsten and 12-year-old Kelsey. In previous years, Debra was charged with abusing Kirsten, but the charges were dropped when Debra agreed to receive mental health treatment. Even though Debra had gotten treatment, the house was still chaotic. Neighbors reported calling the police on the residence multiple times. It did seem like Debra was making an effort to better her life. She had been working as a tutor in anatomy and physiology at Hill College and had been accepted into a program there to become a licensed vocational nurse. She decided not to enter the program, saying she wanted to become a registered nurse, which is a level above LVN and would require a different program. In May of 2009, Lee filed for a separation from Debra, and she didn't take it well. She attempted to take her own life on May 22nd. Neighbors said the street was filled with police and ambulances. It turned out that Debra had tried to overdose on pills while it was just her and her daughters in the house. She was taken to the hospital and then admitted to the DePaul Center for Inpatient Psychiatric Care. While Debra was in the DePaul Center, Lee filed for divorce and petitioned for a temporary restraining order against his wife. He wrote in the application that Debra had attempted suicide and was currently being treated, but he was concerned because, quote, "She may be released within a few days, and I'm concerned about her possible actions regarding the children." His goal was to retain sole custody to protect the safety and well-being of the children and any other person who has been a victim of family violence committed by Debra. Debra remained in the hospital for the next 2 weeks before being released. On June 4th, a custody hearing was held and the judge lifted the restraining order against her, allowing her to see her children. Lee hadn't opposed the order since Debra hadn't shown any signs of resentment against her daughters. Now, I understand not wanting to keep your kids away from their mother, but she had only been in the mental health facility for 2 weeks. Saying she hadn't shown any signs of anything seemed a little premature. That was on top of her also having been charged with abuse previously. The next day, Debra told Lee that he wanted to go out with Kirsten and Kelsey and that she had a surprise for them. The girls were thrilled to see their mother as it had been 2 weeks since they had last seen her. It doesn't sound like a long time, but when a kid normally sees their parent every day and then they're gone for 2 weeks, that probably seems like an eternity. Kelsey had posted about her excitement to her MySpace page, writing, quote, "I get to see my mom tomorrow, yay!" Lee dropped the girls off with Debra at 6 p.m. and she explained that their surprise was somewhere else. So they all got into her car and drove to an abandoned house off of a highway just northeast of downtown Hillsborough. Now, they didn't go straight there. It seems as though they were out for a few hours before, but it's not clear what they did. Once at the house, Debra broke in and told the girls to go inside and into the bathroom. That was where she pulled out a knife and started stabbing Kirsten. Surprise! While being stabbed, Kirsten yelled at Kelsey to run, which she did. Debra ran after Kelsey and started stabbing her, but Kirsten got between them to protect her younger sister. Eventually, Kirsten collapsed from her wounds and Debra went back to stabbing Kelsey. Then she slit the 12-year-old's throat. When that was done, she turned back to Kirsten and slit her throat too. Neither of the girls died immediately, and Kirsten convinced her mother that she should call 911. She told her mother that she didn't want to die and begged her to get help. And amazingly, she did. Just after 9 p.m., Debra called 911.
Dead. One of them is dead. She's dead, but the other one, she wants to be saved, and she needs to be saved, and I don't see any lights. Tell them to get the fuck out here.
Honey, they're coming. They're coming. Do you have any weapons?
I do. I have a knife.
She has a knife.
Should I throw it away?
No, ma'am, just put it in. She's got a knife.
Just hurry.
Okay, tell her we're on our way. She won't give me. Can you not tell me what your name is?
Hold on.
What's your name, darling?
I'm not telling you my name.
Debra is very calm as she tells the operator that she killed her children, that one of them is still alive, and that one of them is dead. She refused to give her name, though, which is weird because she didn't try to get away. People have been surprised to hear that Debra attacked her children and then agreed to call and get help, but they shouldn't be, because she clearly wasn't acting in a rational manner. The question of her mental health comes up, obviously, but even outside of that, you can't expect a parent to stab and slash their children and then act in a predictable manner. When deputies arrived, they found Debra outside of the house laying on the ground with her car in the garage. The knife she had used to attack her children was sitting on the car. Inside the house, they found Kelsey dead in the bathroom and Kirsten still clinging to life. She was airlifted to a trauma center in Dallas and underwent surgery to repair extensive damage to her neck. She also had multiple stab wounds on her body. 10 days later, Kirsten was released from the hospital and was able to attend Kelsey's memorial. Debra was arrested at the scene without incident, and the evidence against her was pretty solid. She had confessed on the 911 call, she was covered in her daughter's blood, the murder weapon had been in her possession, and Kirsten was a living witness. Still, during her arraignment, she pleaded not guilty, but she was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 1 count of attempted capital murder, which meant the prosecutor would be seeking the death penalty. Debra was offered a deal to plead guilty and receive life in prison without parole, and she took it. Obviously, questions remain about why she truly wanted to kill her daughters. Of course, there is the possibility that she was just that mentally ill, but if that was the case, Debra never tried to use that as a defense. It seemed that her ex-husband Lee believed that it was mental illness, at least at first. After she was sentenced, Lee told reporters that he believed that Debra was so mentally ill that she believed that death was the only way out of the heartbreak that their divorce would cause. She had told him that she was hurting so bad and believed that the girls were hurting that bad, and she thought she was saving them from that pain. Filicide is the act of a parent killing a child, and there are 5 categories that the act fits into. This explanation would be altruistic filicide, which is where a parent kills their child in order to save them from something. But then Lee said in a different interview that Debra had wanted to kill their daughters to hurt him. He explained that her mental health was never actually that bad and she just wanted to make him suffer for filing for divorce. That's an example of spousal revenge filicide, which seems pretty self-explanatory. The reason Lee suddenly believed that new reason was because she had told him that at one point while she was in jail. She had told him she was going to murder the girls, then come and murder him while he was sleeping, and she followed it up by telling him that she hated him. Even though the words have come directly from Debra's mouth, I don't think we'll ever know exactly what's true. Was it mental illness? Was it hatred? Or was it a little of both? It's a question that will likely remain unanswered, but at the least we can rest assured that another monster is locked up for good. Thanks so much for letting me tell you this story. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave a comment. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.